Do you actually make good money working on cruise ships once you add in long hours and the time away from home? Hey sailors, welcome back to Cruising as Crew. Today we are going to be going back to our roots and I'm going to be answering your questions about working on cruise ships. I hope it's helpful, I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you're having a fantastic weekend. Okay, first question. If I get off in port and arrive back to the ship late and the ship has gone, what happens? Unfortunately, as a crew member, if you miss the cruise ship, you will be fired. So your passport will have been given to the port agent. You can collect your passport from the port agent and either make your way to the cruise ship's next destination to pick up your belongings, or you can just make your way home. Obviously, you will have to fund this. If you just go straight home, then your things will be posted to your home address. I will warn you though, you'll probably get like a quarter of your belongings back, because unless you've made some really good friends on board, there's not a lot of people who are gonna be willing to pack all of your stuff and be really meticulous and make sure that everything is in there. That is also a reason why when I got off in port, I always took a credit card or a debit card with me. I actually don't know what you would do if, let's say, you just got off the ship for the day and you took your phone and you just had cash. So it's really important that you pay attention to the time when you get off in port, because if you miss the ship, not only is it incredibly inconvenient, but you will also lose your job. How do I know if I will have my own cabin or whether I will have to share a cabin? This is a good question. It does completely depend on what department you work in, what cruise line you work for, and what kind of cruise ship you work on as well. Like if you're on one of the newer Royal Caribbean cruise ships, let's just say, you might have your own cabin, whereas if you go on one of the older Royal Caribbean ships, you'll probably have to share a cabin. Now, it is safe to assume that if it is your first contract or even your second contract, you'll be sharing a cabin with someone, usually from the same department of the same gender. It's very rare that on your first or second contract you're going to have your own cabin. It does happen, but there are very few jobs that you can do that give you your own cabin. So you won't know if you're sharing a cabin until you get on board. But it is safe to assume that you will be sharing a cabin, and then if by some miracle you have your own cabin, it's a bonus. But you are kind of setting yourself up for disappointment if you go on expecting your own cabin, because you'll most likely be introduced to a roommate. Is Wi-Fi free for crew, or do we have to pay for it? It's still not entirely free. Certain cruise lines like Virgin Voyages do offer free Wi-Fi for crew members. Incredible, but most cruise lines unfortunately do still charge for it. However, after 2020, a lot of cruise lines now offer a free WhatsApp package. So basically there is a free internet option where I think you just get WhatsApp, maybe Telegram for free, but you can't send voice notes or videos or pictures. You can literally just send text messages. But I suppose it is a free way of keeping in contact, you know, with your friends and family. However, if you want to make WhatsApp calls, send GIFs and voice notes, but also if you want to scroll on social media, go on YouTube, you know, do all of those fun things, you are going to have to pay for it. Now, as a crew member, you are going to be charged a lot less than passengers, but it is still going to add up. But yes, you will have to pay for it. How do crew members get promoted on board? I mean, it really is simply by doing a good job, by being the best crew member, best employee that you can be, and then hopefully being recognised by your manager, who will put you up for a promotion by head office or by their manager or something. Some departments have a lower ceiling than others in terms of how high you can go. So for example, let's say you start out in the food and beverage department. I mean, you can work your way up to food and beverage manager. Or let's say you start out as a housekeeper, you can work your way up to hotel director, and they are earning a pretty penny. If you start out as a deck cadet, you can work your way up to captain. Whereas, for example, when I worked in the shops, you know, you start as a shoppie, and really in that department you can kind of only work your way up to shop manager, which is amazing, But do you see what I mean? Like, there's only so many steps you can take before you've reached the top, which I think is why moving departments on cruise ships is so common, because people get to the top of their department and they're like, well, they want to keep progressing, so then they move into the entertainment department where they can potentially become a cruise director, or you see what I mean. So in terms of how you get promoted, you've just got to be the best employee you can be. And if you find yourself reaching that ceiling within your department, it's completely normal to change departments and continue progressing through the ranks. What happens if you get seasick while you are working on board? It depends how seasick you are. I've told this story many times, but when I was in Australia on one of my first ships, there was a girl who started working on board and it turned out she had chronic seasickness. She was not aware of this because she had never been on a ship before, and she had to go home after a few weeks because she was seasick every single day. Yeah, really not a great situation for her. Hopefully your seasickness is just going to come in bouts when the ship is really rocky, and the longer you work on board, trust me, you really do get used to the motion of the ship. So if you have it really bad, then you will just be off sick for the day and go to your cabin and lie in bed. But honestly, sometimes that's worse. Like if you're in an inside cabin in a bunk bed and you're just rolling around in it, like sometimes it's actually better to just push through and work through it. Granted, sometimes you can't. If you are spewing your guts up, you can't be doing your job at the same time, granted. I do find that crew members learn this lesson pretty quickly, in that it's actually better to be working than be in your cabin when you feel seasick. So a lot of people just kind of push through it if it's like not that bad, if you're just feeling a bit queasy. But obviously, if you're really ill, you will be able to go to your cabin and hopefully sleep through it. Do you need previous cruise experience to get hired on a cruise ship, or does hospitality work count? The answer is absolutely not. If everyone had to have experience on a cruise ship, no one will work on cruise ships. Everyone has to start somewhere. Now, obviously it is preferable if you have experience working at sea. So what they do require is exactly like she said, it's preferable that you have experience doing the job that you're going to do on board. So for example, my first job on board was working in the spa. I had had experience working in a spa on land. If you're going to work on reception on a cruise ship, ideally you want to have worked in reception or guest services in a hotel back on land. Chef, you want to have been a chef on land. You know, all of these different things. So no, generally if you've had experience doing that job in any capacity, you will be considered to do it on board. I'm not going to say, you know, it's guaranteed, because nothing's guaranteed, but you can absolutely apply for a job on a cruise ship if you have had experience doing the job on land. Okay, what is the longest contract length you have ever done? The longest contract length I ever did was 10 months. It was my first contract, so I did my 2 months training at the London Wellness Academy, which was very full on, and then you get sent to your cruise ship. So you don't go home in between training and going to the cruise ship, you just go straight from the training centre to your cruise ship. I did 6 months on Rhapsody, and then I did just under 4 months on Legend, which makes it just under 10 months. And then when you add the 2 months training at the beginning, it was 12, but it was like 10 months of me actually working on board. And yeah, it's safe to say that when I got home, I slept for about a week. I don't think I left my room, my poor parents. It was knackering, and I would not recommend a 10-month contract. What are the rules when it comes to dating in your department on board? There aren't really any rules. It's just that if you do start dating someone in your department, ideally you just don't want to act any differently. Like, if you're having a good day with your partner, you don't want to be running up to them and kissing them when you're at work. And if you're having a bad day with your partner, you don't want anyone to know that you're in the middle of an argument or you're having a bad day. Like, if you're going to date someone within your department, you've just got to be able to separate that personal and professional. And trust me, it's not easy. If they tried to mandate dating on board, they would just end up with crew members breaking the rules all the time, because you can't expect people to leave their families and friends, spend every day with these people, and nothing like romantic or friendly to happen. So it would be silly if they tried to mandate it. so they don't. Do you have to pay for crew uniforms or are they provided? This depends on the cruise line, the recruitment agency, the job you're doing, the uniform you need. If you work for the cruise line, they pay for it. And I'm like 99% sure that is across the board. Whatever cruise line you work for, they're going to pay for your uniform. If you work for a concession like I did, I worked for Harding Retail, or if you work for Starboard or Steiner or Clarendon Art, you know, if you work for a concession company, you're probably going to have to pay for your own uniform. I paid for my uniform most of the time. The only cruise line that I didn't was Virgin. How did you handle homesickness when you were away? There's really not a one size fits all answer because homesickness is so personal and it affects everybody completely differently. I was always homesick for the first few weeks of my contract when I was still getting to know people and find my feet and everything still felt really alien. But then as soon as I, you know, made some friends and felt like I knew what I was doing, the homesickness subsided. But also I think homesickness can sometimes have less to do with missing the people at home and how good of a time you're having. And that sounds really bad, like that's not the right thing to say. It's true. If you're having an incredible time, you're probably not going to be as homesick as someone who feels like they're just working and sleeping. So if you find yourself feeling homesick during your contract, I think it's really important to ask yourself, are you having fun? Are you going out in the ports when you have time off? Are you socialising? Are you making an effort to make friends? Or are you literally just going to work, eating and sleeping? Because if that's what you're doing, yeah, no wonder you're homesick. So sometimes it's less about the people at home and more about you needing to have a better time. What is the hardest part about living and working on a cruise ship? The hardest part is that you never switch off. Obviously you do your shift at work and then you go back to your cabin. And when you're in your cabin, you will probably have a roommate. So depending on how friendly you are with your roommate, you can't fully just switch off because you're considering your roommate. And then if you leave your cabin and go to crew bar, you can't fully just like let your hair down. You can have fun and you will have lots of fun, trust me, but there's always this little thing in the back of your mind that's like everyone you're socializing with, you also work with. So the way you want your colleagues to view you isn't necessarily how your friends view you. And then also because you're just in one environment, you know, when you have a job on land, you go to work and you leave work. And when you're at home and hopefully, you know, depending on what job you have, you can switch off. Whereas when you're on a cruise ship, you know, you go back to your cabin, but like, let's say there's an itinerary change. You're supposed to be in Dubrovnik tomorrow and you're supposed to have a day off or a morning off in Dubrovnik, but the weather's bad, so now we're at sea. So you're not having a morning off, you're going to work because you're at sea. And you have to be ready to kind of jump into action. So I would say that's the hardest thing, is that you're not fully relaxed. And actually you don't really realise it until you are able to switch off. Like I was fine and I didn't even realise that I was constantly on the go until I finished my contract and came home and I was like, oh, right, okay, I have switched off and I am relaxed now and I have not felt this while I was on board. So actually, like, it's fine because when you're on board you think you are relaxed, but it's not until you come home that you're like, oh. Do crew get shore leave in every port or only sometimes? The only places that really are strict is the US. That's the only place that are really funny about shore leave, but no, everywhere else is fine with giving crew members shore leave. So yeah, if you're going to New York, don't get your hopes up because they are really, really weird about giving crew members shore leave. So unless it's something ridiculous, like unless it's your 7th contract with the same company or your 7th time in New York, it's like, it's crazy. But yeah, everywhere else in the world, you're gonna get shore leave. Can you request which ship or region you work on, or do they just assign you? Your first contract, you will just be assigned a ship, and you go wherever that ship's going. And then if you're with a concession, you usually get to request the ship you want or the region you want for your 2nd and 3rd and 5th contract. And I will say I was very lucky throughout my time. I got every ship that I requested. They want their crew to be happy, so they really do try and give you your ship request if they can. But no, for your first contract, you'll just go wherever they want you to go. What's the difference between working from a European cruise line and a North American one? First, it's going to be the clientele. You know, if you work for, let's say, MSC, which is a European cruise line, compared to Royal Caribbean, well, you're going to get more Europeans on MSC and you're going to get more Americans on Royal Caribbean, generally speaking. And then the clientele dictates what language the crew members speak. On 90% of cruise ships, English will be the language that you speak. It will be the main language on board. However, on MSC, because you get a lot of Italians on board, you will find that then MSC Cruise Line hires a lot of Italian speaking crew so that they can converse with all the Italian passengers on board. Just like on Royal Caribbean, it's going to be mostly North American English speakers, so you're going to get people who speak English. Do you actually make good money working on cruise ships once you add in long hours and the time away from home? Yes and no. I feel like I've said this for every question. It depends on the cruise line, depends on the job. Like, there are just so many factors that go into it. For your first contract, or even first and second contract, the money's gonna be fine. It's not bad, but it's not amazing. But then if you choose that you want to work on cruise ships for a while and you want to work your way up the ranks, then yeah, you can earn some serious cash working on board cruise ships. You know, whether it's in the bars, you know, just getting a lot of your money from tips. Like, I know some bar staff who are earning serious cash. Whether you're doing what I did and you're a shopping ambassador, like, you can earn some serious money. If you're in the next cruise department and you're selling cruises, like, the commission structure there is really, really good. So you can earn great money on cruise ships if you're willing to put the work in. But I will say that most of the jobs that you can do on board a cruise ship, they are structured almost in the same way that jobs are structured in North America. Obviously not every job, but for example, if you are a hotel bartender in a hotel in North America on land, you will get paid a minimum wage that is really low, but then your tips, because everyone tips in North America, right? So your tips can be absolutely fantastic. And, you know, that's good and bad. Like, you're gonna have days where you go into work and no one comes to the bar and you make barely any money, but then the next day the bar could be absolutely rammed and you go home with $1,000 in tips and you're like, oh my god, this is the best thing ever. And a lot of cruise ship jobs are structured like that. So the minimum salary is really low, but then the commission rate is really good and you can earn a lot of money through tips and gratuities, and you get a commission on whatever you sell, depending on what job you're in. It's one of those things where really it's all about what you are going to put into the job. If you're going to turn up to work every day and try your best, then you're going to make some serious bank. But if you are more of a person that just likes to turn up to work and do the bare minimum, you're not going to earn very much. And that is absolutely fine if you do want to just have a job where you go to work and you do the bare minimum. Like, that's fine. Everyone's allowed to want what they want. But yeah, if you are that person, cruise ships probably isn't for you, because when you look at the amount of hours you work compared to how much you earn, it's probably not going to be that great. And there we go. Those are just a few questions that you had. If you still have questions, please leave them in the comments down below, or you can DM me over on Instagram at Cruising as Crew. If you are not subscribed, please consider subscribing. And if you are subscribed already, I love you so much, thank you. But I hope you have a fantastic rest of the day, and as always guys, I will see you in the next video.